The Gerber Dual Force is kind of a beast of a multi-tool. If I bring this in next to a Leatherman Wave, you can see it just kind of dwarfs it, closer in size to the Surge, but even a little bit bigger than that. The thing that, the claim to fame, if you will, on the Gerber Dual Force is these kind of slip joint style plier heads. And in fact, they are a slip joint. You can see that it will jump from a much smaller gripping capacity into a larger gripping capacity. The advantage of that is it gets your hand a little bit more closed when you're on a large nut or bolt. Let's grab a bottle of Loctite to show that. So your hand, when your hand's a little bit more compacted, you get a lot more gripping force. So it's really taking advantage of that, just the biomechanics of your hand, I guess. No compound leverage in this. That would be really cool if it had kind of the SOG compound leverage, but it does give a nice beefy plier head. Like I said, that's like a standard glue stick size, and smaller size you might be really cranking down with just your fingertips, but if you go into that extended size, you can really bite down on something that size. And that's about, I mean, I wouldn't be using anything on a bolt larger than that, most likely. Maybe if you had a piece of pipe you wanted to grip or something like that, you could probably get around reasonably sized things. The way it's constructed, this plier head, is kind of interesting. It's made out of 2 layers of some sort of sheet metal. I assume it's stamped, and then the outside is stamped and rolled over it with a seam down the center, and that's just riveted together with these 4 rivets. I don't know how this is going to hold up to super heavy use, but you know, you used to buy like ratcheting wrenches that would be a similar construction, and don't know of any real durability issues with those, though of course a one-piece tool may be preferred. I think the price would go up quite a lot on this if it was a full forged plier head or something like that. But I think it's a pretty competent pair of pliers, and some people don't need those needle nose pliers, so I think it's a good option if you wish you had more bolt gripping capacity versus that fine needle nose. You see the tips don't align perfectly. There's not, I mean, there's a lot of kind of slop in this style of plier head, but for most of your grabbing tasks, it is going to work. Also not a super thick plier head, so not maybe not going to meet your needs if you need like a lineman's plier. It does have a cutter underneath the plier that's a bypass cutter, probably just for hardwire, not particularly sharp, but might be able to get you through some stuff. Planning on doing some testing further with this, as well as with a lot of other tools. We're going to put together a bit of a gauntlet that we can run tools through as we go. Now, you just saw a little bit of a problem with this, is if those pliers are in their extended position, sometimes they can get caught. And even when they are, let's see, if they're in that extended position but folded, those handles won't close up all the way. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're throwing this in a tool bag, something like that, not a big deal. I think it's worthy in a kind of minimalist tool pouch, because you are going to have access to more than just those pliers, but it's a pretty decent pair of pliers. And, you know, I'm not a big proponent of using slip joint pliers on bolt heads and stuff like that anyway. They're kind of a utility that you might run into, or might use them on all sorts of different things, but it's not going to be your main wrench by any means. Knife blade is nice and big. We've got one of our thumb bars fitted. They do fit the knives on these, but not the saw and file, which we've seen to be the case with a lot of different tools. Just the machining tolerances are different. Anyway, I digress. The one problem I have with this, and I would probably modify this if I was going to carry it regularly, is this piece of the frame does get in the way of closing it. I mentioned this, I've got a video out a while back on kind of the best big boy multi-tools, and what I recommend for kind of construction style jobs. This did make an appearance in that, but it does get a little bit tricky to close that one-handed, which is kind of unfortunate, just a bit of an oversight in the design, in my opinion. Getting into the other tools, we saw that knife blade. nice decent knife blade. We're going to pop open. We've got a nice big aggressive wood saw. I could see this having no problem chewing through, shims and stuff like that you might use a multi-tool for, just to knock something off when it's in the way. Does lock pretty securely. All of these do seem to lock out pretty securely. The lock is kind of fully deployed using a spacer of sorts as the stop for the lock, but that's a common thing in multi-tools. You're not going to rely on it for too much. We've got a true chisel ground at the tip here. Don't think it's hollow. I think actually it might be a little bit hollow. I'm not sure. Hard to tell. It is kind of a steep angle. You may want to reprofile that if you're going to use this for proper chiseling. I'd also like to see it kind of straightened out a bit, although it's kind of off angle, and then the tool handle also kind of puts it off angle a little bit more. That's again a drawback of using a multi-tool. Not going to be a replacement for your woodworking chisels, but if you need to clean up a mortise for a door hinge or something like that, I think you can probably use that okay, as long as it stays sharp. And it is on the file, which seems like a decent file, single cut and cross cut, not particularly aggressive, but it does seem like it would get the job done. Unfortunately, it's got this big opening hole here, which doesn't interfere too much with the cutting edge, I suppose, but just something for, if you're filing a bolt head or something, and it could slip in there and cause some issues, but not terrible. And then the kind of the big draw of this and the center drive is you've got this center axis bit driver, which is magnetic and holds full-size 1/4-inch bits. That is something that I just wish was on more multi-tools. Maybe not this particular center drive feature with that offset that puts it in line with, kind of somewhat in line with the center of the tool, but a big outward accessible bit driver is just something I've always kind of sought after. One of my earliest mod attempts was to put one on a Leatherman Surge. Never did get that finished. Maybe we'll return to that sometime. But just that one-handed accessible screwdriver that uses bits. I mean, most of us, at least in the US, are going to be using these Phillips bits for a great majority of things we're tackling. But in addition to that, the only interior tools, not like a traditional butterfly mechanism tool where they come out, where you have a bunch of tools coming out from the inside. So you're not going to have anything when it's open, but when you do close it on what would normally be referred to as kind of the tool side of the handle, you do have what's super nice, 2 additional storage slots for screwdriver bits. So you can fit 2 additional 1/4-inch bits. Those are also magnetic. And so that makes this a pretty competent tool. I mentioned in a previous video, they're kind of trip savers. This tool will, not be your primary tool, but when you're not expecting something and something comes up, can take care of a lot of really nice little quick tasks. Tightening up a plate on a light switch, something like that. Kind of perfect for this. You see contractors come out, or I have seen contractors come out, and we notice a little issue, and they'll just whip out a Leatherman and trim a piece here or there, tighten up a screw, stuff like that. Very competent for stuff like that, as long as you don't need that needle nose. And if you're encountering things that are kind of this realm, I do think this is a pretty decent tool for that. I'm going to try and carry this a little bit more and get a full review. We might do the gauntlet because it's just an easy way to test a bunch of different things at the bench. If you have any ideas for that, let me know in the description below. We'll put a video out soon on kind of our thought process on that, and it's just going to be something where we can test multi-tools here at the bench. But that's the Gerber Dual Force. I think this is about $100. I'll put the link in the description below to Amazon. Look around. I've gotten them. I think I got this one for about $50 during a sale, which is a great price. If you can get it at that price, I think it's a really good find. At the full price, there might be better options, but to go to like a Leatherman Surge, you're still talking about an extra $50, assuming I'm somewhat close on the price of the Gerber Dual Force. But a pretty competent tool, tool that I kind of like the concept of, and I'm a big fan of seeing some innovation in the plier heads and just the use cases, because obviously this is a plier-based multi-tool, but it is something that's very unique compared to anything else on the market. So kudos to Gerber on that. And like seeing that center drive screwdriver on there, wish we could see that a little bit more often. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.